Squire of Hell. By Maverick. Chapter 27. Food and rest, those were the only two things on my list of things to do for tonight. I was impatient, so hitching a ride on Pochi was out of the question. Instead, we met up at the rendezvous point, shared the good news with Melise and Amara, and then made it out of the forest, where we noticed a cabin. I saw that the lights were on from the windows, the smell of a freshly cooked meal wafting under my nose. I felt not a shred of guilt when I kicked the door right open, noticing 3 Aganthagan soldiers ready to sit down with a full spread on the table. There was a moment of dumb confusion shared between them before they sprung, but they were of the armed fighter class, and with their weapons sitting on the corner. They couldn't do much with their special abilities. My stamina was shot, but I was more than willing to fight for food. Hunger was an excellent motivator, and my party and I made quick work out of killing them, before using their small hideout for the evening. After Amara and I disposed of the bodies, I had my fill of food. Despite the grilled buck meat being incredibly dry, I enjoyed it. I washed it down with more of Melise's milk, then took Amara's offer of rinsing and drying my clothes by the fireplace. Surprisingly enough, she wasn't tired, Amara having the energy of an ox. The same could be said with her energy in bed. I went into the closet and cashed in on some clothes. The trousers I could manage, but the tunic was huge. Regardless, I couldn't complain. At least I was washed up and dry. And now it was time to settle down and allocate my points. Between the forest goblins and the Aganthagan soldiers, I went up 3 levels, Faye went up 2, and Melise and Amara went up 1. Which meant that I was at level 36, Faye at level 8, Melise at level 28, and Amara at level 50. I allocated my 18 points, and reviewed my stats. Relo stats. Name, Knives Arleon. Race, human. Class, fighter. Rank, warrior. Level, 36, experience, 21,233 36,000. Points to be allocated, 0. Brawn, 114. Agility, 79. Charisma, 20. Willpower, 43. Single bullet berserker. Riot/attack. 1,400 nudas. 5 packs of 2012 gauge bullets. 10 snack bars. 1 mana restoration vials. Ro. Kotha. Mana, 37,100. I planned on retiring for the night, my eyes catching Melise in the hallway sneaking into our stolen bedroom while she tiptoed on all 4s. The stealthy cat took the opportunity to sneak in while Amara was busy by the fireplace, tiptoeing past the Minotaura who was happily humming to herself as she dried my clothes in the living room. I watched her cartoonish footsteps down the wooden floor on the armchair, shaking my head at her foolishness. I get it, she wanted me all to herself tonight. And despite my exhaustion, I was ready to entertain my little ranger. Melise slowly closed the door behind her after she gave me a cute little wink. A battle for attention between Nico and Minotaura. Was this my life now? I got up for the bathroom, Melise's breast milk finally catching up to me. But as I walked down the east hallway, I heard grating coming from Faye's room. The door was halfway open, so I pushed it in, noticing Faye rummaging around, on the search for something. She was so distracted that she didn't even see me lounging against the doorway with my arms crossed, staring at her. Until I cleared my throat, my white mage yelping when she jumped. Looking for something in particular.
Butcher.
She gasped, with a hand on her chest. But she didn't answer my question. Instead, she continued searching, my white mage on edge. I could tell she was paranoid about something. I wanted to try and open the floor again, despite knowing the end result. If she didn't want to talk about it a few hours ago, I doubt she wanted to talk about it now. But earlier, she was in slightly happier spirits, so I went for it anyway. You want to talk about it?
How about you mind your own business?
She spit back.
This is nothing of your concern.
You know, I know a little about keeping shit inside. It festers and feeds, until you lose all sense of yourself. You can snuggle and pamper Pochi all you like, I said, my eyes pointing down at the wyvern sleeping on the corner, but you need to talk to someone who would actually listen. She gave me a loud aggravated sigh and marched right up to me, her face beat red with anger.
Unless you have an extra weapon you can lend me, I have nothing to talk to you about.
I narrowed my eyes on her. A weapon. You mean like a small weapon? There was always the option of snatching one from the soldiers, but those heavy axes and clubs might not work well with her physique. Faye, the idea of being a white mage is so that you don't have to fight in close combat.
I am well aware. However, I need to be protected.
Are you upset or disappointed? Or both? I paused, watching as she tried to hold back the shakes. Faye, I'm sorry I couldn't.
It's not about that. It's everything.
Her shoulders tensed, and I could tell that she was on the verge of tears. She turned around and started to pace back and forth, trying to formulate the words before they spilled out of her trembling lips.
All right, maybe getting shot in the chest is part of it. But I am distraught. And I don't know where to put myself.
You put yourself in the last place you want to be, and you talk about it, I instructed her, Faye pivoting to me before she looked away timidly.
This is a lot more than I expected. And we aren't even dealing with these sin gods yet. How am I to expect that it'll only get better from here?
It won't, I said bluntly. It'll only get harder. I don't want to lie to you, Faye.
As you shouldn't,
she retorted.
Butcher. Do you recall the night we met? The night we were both taken into the portal?
How could I forget?
Well, I was looking for someone past my curfew. I was looking for my sister, Geneva.
She sat down on her desk chair, my mind lost from that name. I could have sworn Faye Bellmauer only had 2 sisters, neither of which were named Geneva.
She's the true youngest. She had an arranged marriage with Benjamin Yeager, a thieving entrepreneur, whose only angle was getting into my father's business and stealing his riches. But the thing is, he was incredibly talented with his words. He had a clever snake's tongue and used it to manipulate my father into marrying Geneva. Of course, behind closed doors, that man was nothing but nasty to Geneva. Yet, no one but me believed her. Benjamin turned our family against Geneva, and it was awful. I hated them, all of them, for choosing a complete stranger over family. It was despicable, and Geneva got so tired of it that she became an outcast in the family. Little by little, I watched her deteriorate, all because of that man. It was hard witnessing her fall further and further into depression and made an enemy in her own home. Until that night, the night of the dance to celebrate their approaching union. Benjamin beat her. She ran and told father, and Benjamin fabricated a story to make it look like she was having one of her episodes. When father didn't listen, she ran away, and I went looking for her. Her word and her well-being meant nothing to the Bellmauers. I was ready to abandon my family for my sister, so she could understand that she wasn't alone, and that I believed her. Till this day, I swear they'd been under some type of hypnotic spell to put that man before Geneva so easily like that. Maybe there was another agenda, because it seemed so very unnatural. My heart broke for her, and knowing the type of town we lived in, I couldn't have my 17-year-old sister out alone. But then I ran into trouble, and you found me. Now you know, Butcher, why I need to go back to Ebenmere as soon as possible. Now you know why I need to survive this. Now you know why. I can't comprehend how feeble I was.
What? She shot right off her seat, her fists just as tight as that expression on her face.
I need to survive this. But all of this fear of being too weak is holding me back.
Faye, you're not weak, I reassured her, walking right up to her and taking her shoulders in my hands. In fact, you're the strongest member in our party. You're not only the lowest experienced, you're also a white mage. And I'm not saying this to belittle you. Don't you understand? You wake up every morning just like us, to stare threats in the face, knowing how very limited you are with offensive attacks. You're a healer, not a fighter, and that truth still doesn't hold you back. That son of a bitch deflected my bullet and you ate a shot for it. No one, not even yourself, should expect to have taken that lightly. And even when I dug the bullet out, you had enough strength to withstand all of that pain, and heal yourself right after. You're not feeble, Faye. I don't want you walking around thinking that you aren't important, or that you're weak, or that you can't do this. I remember making you a promise that I will protect you, and that your goals are my goals. I stand by that promise, but sometimes shit like that happens. And after what I saw, the pretty little princess from Bellmauer Castle saving her own hide, you made me confident that you can peddle through the worst of it. I stroked her bangs away from her eyes. Her jagged breathing settling down. We'll win this war, Faye. And when you get out of here, you'll find your sister. I'll make sure of it. She smiled subtly, and it was enough to put my heart at ease. I hated seeing my girls bothered by illusions of incompetence, lack of confidence, fear, whatever. Once she took a long deep breath, she could finally rest her shoulders and relax. Faye looked up at me with gentle eyes and said,
Butcher. I never got to thank you for saving me back there.
It was my fault you got hurt in the first place.
Oh, is that why you've been holding your tongue from me? Have you been feeling guilty?
She snorted.
You didn't divert the shot. That stubborn parasite did. And for that, you shouldn't feel sorry. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go back to how things were between us, if that's okay with you.
Boy, wasn't she sassy. I chuckled. Yeah, I can try. I said, then took the priestess for another emotional roller coaster. I cupped her face and kissed her on those perfectly plump lips, her softness breaking me. Faye was stunned, and at first, she didn't kiss me back. But when her heartbeat went off, she kissed me back, giving me a deep and sensuous kiss. I had her flavor on my tongue, and I wanted more, but I respected her boundaries. I didn't push my luck, gently pulling back as she gazed at me awestruck. My thumb stroked the corner of her hanging lips, and I gave her a content smile. Maybe now she could stop being busy sulking around, and keep busy with trying to understand where that random kiss came from. Good night, Faye.